sick 5 roses is kind of our tagline, but I don't have anywhere to put it, so I'm just gonna. So, as you know, oh my god, I need a tissue already. What? My name is Becky. I'm 25 years old. I love you too! I'm 25 years old and I have cystic fibrosis. I was going to explain a little bit about it, but Dad already covered that for me, and I appreciate that. I think a lot of you walking down the street probably wouldn't look at me and say, yep, she's a sick person. She's sick all the time. Well, I am. Kind of sucks. It takes a lot to keep me healthy. I have respiratory therapy that I do 3 times a day. This consists of 2 or 3 nebulizers to open up my airways, to thin the mucus that clogs my airways, and then I have an inflatable vest that's hooked up to an air compressor to get the phlegm in my lungs up and out. It's not a fun process. It's kind of disgusting. Therapy takes about an hour each time. I do it in the morning, right after I wake up, before I shower, in the afternoon when I get home from work, and right before I go to bed. I'm also on several different medications, including antibiotics, vitamins, enzymes, an appetite enhancer, supplements, allergy medications, and the medicines that I already use for my therapy. I use supplemental oxygen at night. I sleep with this every single night, take it with me on vacations, and I also use it during the day if I'm feeling tired or if I'm having trouble breathing. I also have a feeding tube, which I use at night to supplement my calorie intake because obviously, kind of tiny, need to fix that. I also nicknamed her Francesca. I was high on pain meds and I was like, yeah, Francesca's a good name. I also have to exercise regularly in order to move air in my lungs and keep them strong. So I do yoga, which I fall down a lot during that. And occasionally I need to be hospitalized for a tune-up, which consists of IV medications, more intensive respiratory therapy, more intensive physical therapy, eating as much disgusting hospital food as I can manage, lots of sleep, and a revolving door of nurses, doctors, pharmacists, nutritionists, physical therapists, respiratory therapists, and everybody else under the sun. And it sounds like a lot. It is a lot. It's easy to imagine, excuse me, it's easy to imagine how somebody can get lost in the mechanics of the disease or how they can be overwhelmed. Despite all that, life goes on. Like Dad said, I graduated college, I work, I spend time with friends, and I try to live as normal life as I can. CF is still there. It's always there. And it's affected my life. How so? Aside from the obvious, lots of ways I have to take into consideration for every single thing that I do. I went to college close to home to be close to my parents, and unfortunately for them, I commuted for most of the time. Sorry. When I graduated college, instead of moving to a bigger city and getting a job in publishing, I decided it's a better idea to live at home and get a job locally. I tried to live in an apartment, but once again, moved back in with my parents. Sorry. So yeah, CF has affected my life, but I try to stay positive. If I hadn't gone to college locally, I wouldn't have met my roommate, who has been there for me so much. And if I hadn't chosen to work locally and live in Allentown, I wouldn't have met my best friend at work. And they're both with me tonight, which I really appreciate. They're a huge part of my story. So while CF affects my life, it doesn't define who I am. I like books, obviously, I'm an English major. I like to laugh, sometimes I can be a little spunky. I like to write, my dad said I like to fish, and I like to play cards with my grandfather. And I kind of have a weird sense of humor, which is important when you have CF, you need that, you really do. What defines me is not CF. What defines me is me. So, our own Teresa Mullen wrote a book on her experiences of what it's like to live with CF. I think it's very honest. It doesn't shy away from the details, no matter how gross they are. And it shows her inner strength, and she's been, although I didn't get a chance to meet her, a huge inspiration to me and how I live my battle. The book is called The Stones Applaud, and it's the title that I'd like to talk about. She gave this book the title, The Stones Applaud, after seeing the cliffs in Ireland. Sorry. The waves beat relentlessly against the stones, slowly wearing them down, but the stones fight until the very end. She likened that to us CFers who were fighting as hard as we can against a wave that will eventually wear us down, and we can fight for as long as possible. She said it's kind of like fighting against a battle that we cannot win. So that analogy would have been true 5 to 10 years ago, but now I think we're getting a little bit closer to winning that battle. This is shown in the new drug called Kalydeco. I'm sure you've heard lots about it because it was approved last year by the FDA. And that has made some serious strides in the treatment to CF. And the difference between this drug and all the other drugs up until now is how it treats CF. Up until now, the drugs that they have given us have treated the causes and symptoms of CF. Not the causes, the symptoms of CF. I get lung infections, so they give me antibiotics. However, this drug actually treats the defect in the cell itself. It's not a cure because it doesn't fix the cell, but it helps the cell work properly the way that it should. And since it treats the cell, the problem in the cell itself, the symptoms that we have, the lung infections, the digestive problems, the skinniness, they become a lot less severe. It's the closest that we've been to a cure yet. And even though Kalydeco only treats 4% of the CF population because it only treats a very specific mutation, it gives us the technology and the knowledge to learn how to treat other mutations. And we know now it's possible to treat the cell, to fix the cell. And this is possible in a huge part to the CF Foundation and the work that they've done, but it's also possible to people like you. You lovely, generous people who are willing to listen to my story and allow yourselves to be affected by it. You're affected by my story and my life, and for that, I thank you. So in closing, because I'm kind of a nerd, I would like to talk about my favorite author, Tolkien. He wrote Lord of the Rings. In his Lord of the Rings work, a major theme is despair. Many of his characters start to despair their situation. They're kind of in bad situations, a lot of them. But he demonstrates through this work that despair is one of the worst things that you can do because it demonstrates a lack of faith and a lack of hope. So I try to live my life by this rule to never despair because I don't ever want to lose faith or hope. No matter how many hospitalizations I need, no matter how difficult it is for me to breathe sometimes, I can never lose faith and hope that someday CF will stand for Cure Found. Thank you.